Hey guys, it's Miss Clark. Today we are going to be doing the book called Boo by Robert Munsch. And it's a pretty funny story, so I hope you stick around to hear more. So our I can statement is I can retell a story using details from the text and illustrations. And then the other one is I can tell how characters respond to specific events in a story. So our vocabulary, we have the word goop, we have enormous, and we have dragged. So goop is kind of like something gross, kind of like slime. We have enormous, which means really big, and then we have dragged, which means like someone pulled you along. Okay? So today we're going to be learning about five-finger retell. So you're going to retell the story at home after I read it to you or after we watch the video. Okay? So we have characters, we have setting, we have problem, we have the events, which is beginning, middle, and end, and then we have solution, which is how was the problem solved. Okay, so here's some background information from the author on why he wrote the story. It's pretty cool to see. So let's click on it. Okay. So it says in June of 1991, I got a letter inviting me to visit grade 1/2 or first and second at Lloyd George Public School in Hamilton, Ontario. I decided to drop in without telling anyone I was coming. The teacher, Karma McKay, freaked out when I walked in, but the kids thought it was neat. While I was telling stories, a kid named Lance asked for a story about Halloween because Halloween was his favorite day of the year. I made up a story for Lance that was sort of like the book, only it did not have the part with the teenager. The story took a long time to get good. When I finally decided to make it into a book, Lloyd George School was closed, and I could not track down Lance. Happily, Karma McKay tracked me down when she heard that I was looking for Lance. Turned out that Lance had moved back to Jamaica, but Karma still had his picture. Lloyd George School was right across the street from an enormous steel mill. The mill is the backdrop in some of the pictures. So now, here is our story.
Today's Storytime Storybook of the Day is Boo by Robert Munsch with illustrations by Michael Marchenko. On Halloween, Lance went to his father and said, "This year, I'm not going to wear a mask. I'm going to paint my face and make it very, very scary." "That's nice, Lance," said his father. "It's a lot less work for me. You go and paint your face." So Lance went to the bathroom and painted. Worms coming out of his hair, ants crawling in his cheeks, and snakes coming out of his mouth. Then he went downstairs, walked up behind his father and said, "Boo!" His father turned around and yelled, "Ah!" "Not scary enough," said Lance. "I want him to fall over." So Lance went back upstairs and painted green brains coming out of the side of his head, one eye falling down over his face, and orange goop coming out of his nose. Then he went downstairs, walked up behind his father and said, "Boo!" His father yelled, "Ah!" and fell right over. "Scary enough," said Lance. Then Lance put a pillowcase over his head, got another pillowcase for candy, and walked down the street. He went up to a house. Knock, knock, knock. A big man opened the door and said, "First kid for Halloween. So nice to see a little kid for Halloween." Lance lifted up his pillowcase and said, "Boo!" The man yelled, "Ah!" and fell right over. But Lance wanted some candy, so he said very softly, "Trick or treat." Nothing happened. He said it a little louder, "Trick or treat." Nothing happened. So Lance went inside, and there was an enormous table full of candy. He put it all in his bag. Ka-thump. Then, even though his bag was very heavy, he walked down the street and went to another house. Knock, knock, knock. A lady opened the door and said, "First kid for Halloween. So nice to see a little kid for Halloween." Lance lifted up the pillowcase and said, "Boo!" The lady yelled, "Ah!" and fell right over. But Lance wanted some candy, so he said very softly, "Trick or treat." Nothing happened. He said it a little louder, "Trick or treat." Nothing happened. So Lance went inside, and there was an enormous table full of candy. He put it all in his bag. Ka-thump. Then Lance went into the kitchen and opened up the refrigerator. He took out 10 boxes of ice cream, 20 cans of ginger ale, 3 watermelons, 10 frozen pizzas, and a turkey. Lance dragged the pillowcase across the porch. He fell down the stairs and landed in the middle of the street. A police car came by. The policeman jumped out, looked at Lance, and said, "Kid, what's the matter with you? You can't sit in the middle of the street. Take your candy and go home." "Look," said Lance, "my bag is so heavy I can't even move. I live right down the street. Please carry my bag home." "Well, all right," said the policeman. "I'll take your bag of candy to your house." Whoa, it's a heavy bag of candy. The policeman dragged the bag down the street, put it on Lance's front porch, and said, "Kid, you must have gone to 2,000 houses to get so much candy." "No," said Lance, "just 2." "Wait a minute," said the policeman. "How did you get so much candy at just 2 houses?" "Well," said Lance, "my face is so scary, when people see it, they fall over, and I take all the candy in the house." Said the policeman. "I'm a cop. You can't scare me. I want to see your face." "Okay," said Lance. He lifted up his pillowcase and said, "Boo." The policeman said, "Oh, if you think I'm going to fall over just because of a face like that, you are wrong. I'm going to run away." And he jumped into his car and drove away real fast. Zoom! Then Lance went inside and started to eat his first chocolate bar. There was a knock on the door. Lance opened it, and there was a teenager. The kind of kid who was much too old to go out for Halloween, and still goes out anyway. He had a pillowcase over his head and a bag full of candy, much bigger than Lance's. "Wow," said Lance. "You must have gone to 5,000 houses to get so much candy." "No," said the teenager, "just 5." "How did you get so much candy at just 5 houses?" said Lance. The teenager said, "My face is so scary that when people see it, they fall over, and I take all the candy in the house. And now I'm going to scare you and take all the candy in your house." "Maybe not," said Lance. "I want to see your face." "Okay," said the teenager. He lifted his pillowcase and yelled, "Boo!" He had worms coming out of his hair, butterflies coming out of his nose, and ants coming out of his mouth. He was scary, but not nearly as scary as Lance. "Nice try," said Lance. He lifted his pillowcase and said, "Boo!" The teenager yelled, "Ah!" dropped his bag of candy, and ran down the street. Lance took the teenager's bag of candy and dragged it into his house. His candy lasted a long time. Every day, Lance ate as much as he could. He ate candy for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. He ate candy in the middle of the night. But his candy still lasted until next Halloween. The end. I hope you enjoyed the story.
All right, so that was the end of our story. So let's keep going. So let's think about some questions or that we may have thought about while we were reading the story. So why did Lance's dad fall over? Okay. Why did Lance take all the candy from the first house he trick-or-treated at? Okay. Why did Lance take all the food from the refrigerator? Why was Lance sitting in the middle of the street? Why did the police officer zoom away? And why did Lance not fall over when he saw the teenager's face? Okay, so you can talk about these questions with whoever's at your house. So how does using the five-finger chart help us to focus our attention to the key details of the story? So Lance went into people's houses and took all the candy and food. Why is this wrong? Okay, so how did Lance change in the story from the first house to the second house? And then what character trait word could we use to describe Lance? And what words or illustrations support your answer? Okay, so you're going to practice retelling using five-finger retell with this story with your partner or whoever you are with at the moment. Okay, so don't forget to pause the video. All right, now at the end of the story or at the end of the lesson, you're going to complete the key feature map independently at your seat or at your house. Okay, so that's what you'll be working on. And I hope you guys have a great day and I hope you enjoyed the book. And I will see you in the next lesson. Bye.